Welcome to Unit 6. Unit 6 is all about quadratics. And quadratics, remember, are x squared functions. And so we are going to start with radicals because radicals undo quadratics.
So what we need to know is what is a radical. So a radical looks like this. So the n number outside our square root is the index. Then we have our radical sign, which is our square root sign. And then we have our radicand underneath.
Now, for the purposes of this unit, for Unit 6, n will be 2. And remember, when it's a square root, then we don't often write the index out there, but you can if you want. Now, the other piece we want to talk about are our perfects. I'm not going to take the time to sit and wait while this video runs to let you copy these down, but I want to give you all of them. As I have written down there, you should plan on memorizing these. I'm not going to give them to you on the quiz or on the test. You do need to know these numbers, and it'll make your life a whole lot easier if you just know them. So perfect squares, you should know these by now. 1 squared 1, 2 squared 4, etc., all the way to 10 squared is 100. Perfect cubes would be 1 cubed 1, 2 cubed 8, 3 cubed 27, 64, 125, 216. Perfect fourths and perfect fifths. So now we're going to use those. We're not going to use the thirds, fourths, and fifths now, but we will be using them in the future, so it's good to have them handy. So what I want to do, though, is I want to talk about simplifying the radicals. So remember, simplifying radicals, we have to figure out the first three are perfect. And the reason why they're perfect is because 25 is either the square root of 5 times 5, or the square root of -5 times -5. And so we've been only dealing with what we call the principal or positive square root up to this point. But in my opinion, you need to know both, and you will need to know both for our next lesson. So the square root of 25, you actually need to write it as plus or minus 5, because either one will provide a correct answer. Well, 36 is plus or minus 6, because 6 times 6 or -6 times -6 gives you 36. And 16 is plus or minus 4. If you really want to write it as 4, -4, be my guest, but this is a tad faster. So now we've got 32. 32 is not a perfect. What we need to do is we need to break it into 2 square roots, one of which is a perfect square. And the one that usually comes up first is 4 times 8. However, 8 you can't leave alone because they won't always necessarily break down perfect right away. This is 4 times 2. Well, square root of 4 is 2, square root of 4 is 2, and then we got the square root of 2. So what this is really 2 times the square root of 2. Which is 4 times the square root of 2. Don't forget your plus or minus out front. Now, if you could have noticed right away that the square root of 32 breaks into the square root of 16 times the square root of 2, which right away gives you your plus or minus 4 square root of 2. We've already done 8, so 8 breaks into square root of 4 times the square root of 2. And when you're breaking these up, please put your radicals over the numbers. Don't say that square root of 8 breaks into 4 times 2, because that is not correct. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 2 is messy, so we leave it as square root of 2. Stick your plus or minus out front. 20 breaks into the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. Square root of 4 is 2 times the square root of 5. It's not too terribly difficult. So now what we're going to have you do is you practice. Got 4 of them for you. None of them are perfect. Some of them you will think of the largest perfect square right away, and some of them you will not. So it doesn't matter if you do or if you don't, but make sure you break them down all the way, because on the quiz or test, if you don't break them down all the way, you will lose partial points. And as always, write your summaries and bring your questions with you to class.